And I told him that he could pay me $500,000 a year to work Monday through Wednesday. But more realistically,
Typical Thor response.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Fish Addictions, the real talk. It always sounds good when we say that. Like, I don't know why. It just feels right.
Just feels right.
We got, obviously, Thor in here. We got Trav. Trav is going to be I think he's going to be a staple on the show. It's a perspective that...
Just podcast.
On the podcast, yeah. A lot of people like Trav. He brings something that people like.
It's the looks.
They're
just devilishly handsome.
I'm hesitant to call him a host.
Well,
don't put a title on me.
Let's just wait to see how many shows
or
up
don't
on,
you put a title on me.
Because Trav's that friend where you're like, dude, let's go. He'd be like, I have a bathroom to remodel.
Yeah, I'm totally that guy.
That's all right. We still like you.
I'm not going to deny that.
I mean, if it's
nobody ever gets sick of me though, right? Like I've never, we've all had those experiences of those friends that are just like, they're just too much, right? They're just like in your face, whatever. I've never had a friend get sick of me because I'm never around long enough.
The guy I feel that way about it, like I feel that way about him like right away.
Yeah. This is going to be a long weekend.
Speaking of, are you coming to Arkansas with me in March or what?
I don't think I'm going to make it.
Oh, man.
I got that bathroom to remodel, bro.
Yeah, but if you wanted to go to Lake Winnipeg in March, you would have said, yeah, I'll go to Lake Winnipeg.
I mean, yeah, that's not Arkansas.
John and those guys had a 250-plus bird shoot today. That's a good one.
That's wild.
For one of their groups.
I can't even imagine.
And they have more snow down. They have more snow down there right now than we do.
That's so great.
Yeah.
It's so great. Have you seen all the Facebook posts where it's like these big jacked up Texas trucks and ditches, and then it's like North Dakotans and their 20-year-old Honda Civic plowing through the 6th blizzard of the year?
I mean, yeah. My sister-in-law lives in Houston, and they have been out of power for 3-4 days now. So I mean, they're just not used to it. We were just out fishing in negative 32 degrees yesterday.
Right.
It's
and our heaters weren't working.
I did see it was on like a Blackstone, like the skillet or the griddle or whatever you want to call them. And it was like one of their Facebook pages or whatever. So this guy's like, this thing is saving our life currently. So they're throwing snow on the Blackstone, melting it, filling their coolers, and using it to flush their toilets. Because they don't have water. All the water pipes have broken.
Yeah.
All frozen broke.
Yeah.
So get a Blackstone.
Forgot to mute my phone.
All right, Thor, what do you got for us today?
All sorts of stuff. So one thing that I saw and is interesting, and so you work with AFTCO in the summertime.
Yep.
They are sponsoring the Elite Series this year, the Bassmaster Elite Series. And I guess more importantly, if you are on a college bass fishing team, you get 40% off AFTCO.
How about high school?
What I saw is it's currently only at the collegiate level. I'm sure that the high school is working. I think sponsorship deals with high school kids is a little bit tricky.
Right.
Just because...
you can offer to the teams. Like, you can't offer to an individual kid.
Right.
But, like, if Thompson, for instance, had a fishing team, it'd be like the Thompson fishing team could put an order in, not just one individual.
Do you ever think that would work here? Or are we just, like, we're an hour away from a body of water? I mean, granted, we have the red, but, like, do you think a fishing team could work in this town?
Yeah, because the way the fishing teams actually work is, like, they go to tournaments, right?
Okay.
So... if it was like myself and 3 or 4 other dads or whatever that have boats would be willing to captain, it would work for sure. I've thought of it. Right. I've thought about it. I've thought about it in my hometown in Ada, which Ada is Norman County is the only county that doesn't have a lake in it in Minnesota, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, like NDSU has a college bass fishing team.
Yeah, and we know quite a few of the guys' kids on there.
Right.
Great guys. We should have them on sometime.
We should have them on.
Little Kinger and
I almost
and
reached
Nancy's.
out to
Evan?
Lucas today.
Lucas?
Yep.
But back to the AFCO thing. If you are a college athlete, is it college fishing teams?
Yep, college anglers specifically.
I really spent the last 2 years wearing nothing but AFCO stuff.
Literally.
In the summer, and it is... It's awesome.
We go camping and your socks are AFCO. I'm like,
no, they're not.
What is going on? Is this the only clothes this guy owns? Like, everything is AFCO.
AFCO, yeah, but that's a testament to how dang good it is.
I need to go buy some. I really do. I need to, like, because it does look like good stuff.
I like
that it fits big guys.
Yeah.
Like,
very well. It fits
Right,
big guys too. Because I am not sponsored by AFCO.
me neither. No.
But AFCO are pretty much the only shirts that I wear when I'm in the boat now.
Really?
Yeah, out of all of the different fishing shirts that are out there, you know, I've worn the Under Armours, the Columbias, you know, Sims. The AFCO sun hoodies fit me by far the best.
I know Shannon's going to put in a huge order, like, this spring for AFCO because she had skin cancer removed last year, and the fact that it's SPF, like, she's pretty jacked about that.
Well, and it's nice because I don't even think about it. I never wear short sleeves in the boat.
Me neither. Never anymore. I mean,
like sometimes
very
I'll roll my
rarely.
sleeves up,
Yeah.
but if I'm planning on being on the water for any more than like 2 or 3 hours, it's a long sleeve shirt every time.
Buy AFCO. The rain suits are by bar none.
That's I'm the only one here that watched it, but the elites were down in Florida and they had torrential downpours for like 3 of the 4 days of the tournament. And it seemed like the guys, I didn't confirm this, but it seemed like the guys that did the best were the ones that were wearing hydronaut suits.
Is there walleyes down south?
Yes. Bull shoals. There's other places. The walleyes can't reproduce down south because water temps aren't good for reproduction.
Really?
Yeah, because like walleyes spawn at a certain temperature. The water, if it does get below that temperature, warms up way too fast, so they kind of just false spawn.
Okay.
So they'll do false spawn. But there's reservoirs in Kansas, bull shoals. There's places that have them.
But like, I don't think there's a single wild walleye in the state of Florida.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, that'd be interesting to know if there was, but I don't think so.
There's definitely a line where it cuts off, and I can't remember where it is off the top of my head, but yeah, so
it's all about water temp.
Right.
And they sustain life in that water.
Right.
That's like, you don't find certain fish north of a line, you know, like smallies, you don't find them too far south either, right? They're kind of like the same range as walleyes, aren't they?
I think they have a bigger range.
A bigger range?
Yeah, because I know like there's
So is a largemouth? Is a largemouth
smallies-
bass just like a beast of a fish that it can handle?
Well, you won't find
Our
largemouth
temperatures?
bass much further north than here.
Right, but they go all the way down to the Gulf.
There is a line for largemouth bass.
Yeah.
I would like to know that line actually that we're thinking about it, but I know there's a line for largemouth. There's in Canada you don't find a lot of smallies northern part of Canada either.
Right.
You go up to like a Reed Lake way up northern Manitoba. It's lake trout, walleyes, pike, whitefish. I mean that's burbot.
and like true cold water fish.
Yeah. So there is a line. You know, they all
Right.
have their temperature level where they'll be successful.
Yeah.
We just got back from a trip fishing Tullibee. Tullibee. You ever fished Tullibees before?
Never.
Never caught one on Lake of the Woods?
Nope.
There's tons of Tullibee on Lake of the Woods. I brought 'em-
I think when we went on like a day trip, was that with Marshall?
Probably. Oh, yeah.
I think we pulled in a Tullibee. And I was
think
like,
we did.
what's that?
I don't think I've ever targeted a
Gargled
Tullibee.
at you. I have never targeted Tullibees either, so it was kind of fun because it was so different. Because you're on Lake of the Woods, you get on a good Tullibee bite, and you can catch 30 in a day and no problem.
Is there a
Here-
limit on those?
They're a rough fish
Which means?
that there's no limit.
Okay.
So you can take as many as you
Good.
want. But really good smoked. They give me gas, something terrible, but it's good.
Is it the Tullibee or is it the Tullibee dip that gives you the gas?
Yeah, so Chaz, one of our buddies, he had a bunch of Tullibee smoked up years back, and he gave us this Tupperware dish of smoked Tullibee, and it was terrible. I'd clear this room right now, guaranteed. Like,
It'd be over.
yeah, for sure. But no, we were fishing Tullibes. We had a little bet going on, so a few of us bit the head off the Tullibee. I can still taste it. It's in my beard. It's everywhere. I was dumb. I didn't bite far enough back. I bit right where the eyeballs were at, and both eyeballs.
Whose idea
popped
was
in my
this to
mouth.
go full Ozzy Osbourne and bite the head off of this creature?
I don't know. There was 6 of us in the house, and somebody had the bet. I don't usually back down. I was definitely the most hesitant to do it. I did it because I don't back down from it. I'm still regretting it. I have a very weak stomach. So the other 2 guys bit it. Were
Do you
mad.
change diapers?
Yeah, I can. Well,
Like a bad diaper? Well, after 4 kids, it probably doesn't bother you so much.
not real good with diapers.
Right.
Even after 4 kids, I'll do it. But man, there's some of them where it's just no.
So instead, you bite the heads off of.
Well, we've been
fish.
traveling around. Speaking of like gagging things, we've been traveling around in the Big Bite, and the Big Bite's got a portable toilet in it.
Ugh, I don't even want to know.
So after each trip, I mean, we're in this thing for days. After each trip, you got to empty it. Someone's got to empty it, right? Well,
you guys draw straws?
no. It's usually so the rule is whoever goes first, whoever uses it first has to empty it. Well, I'm here to tell you that's only happened once because here I am thinking about it right now.
Well, it's yours. It's registered to you, bro.
It's backed into my shop, and it's not empty. And the guy who was supposed to empty it left.
But who used it first? Was it Dusty again?
It's always Dusty. But
See, I would have thought it's always you.
no, we hold off. Like I didn't go. That was scary. I left Monday, and I didn't go until today. And I'm a 1 or a 2 time a day guy. But we all we paint.
I would have stopped at a hospital. That would have been like, Doc, I'm dying.
It's pain.
I'm about to die. Cut me open, get it out. I don't know what to do.
I got to know, how did Lexi take the
Was
fact
there
that
any
you
follow-up?
called her out?
I mean,
know.
it was pretty funny. I mean, and then I sent it to her boyfriend, and I was like, fast forward to an hour and 22 minutes or whatever. He texted me back. He's like, wow, she really called me out on that, huh? I was like, it's okay, buddy. It's okay. I'm kind of that guy, too. I'm a little clingy myself.
I know that everybody's wondering, and they have that question right now. I'm sorry it took so long. Yes, I look younger. Yes,
You don't look as
did
skunky. I'm going to give you that.
I did do something. I look younger. Let's see if these guys can figure it out. Oh, I won't make you wait. I dyed my beard like I told you I would.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Waiting. It's going to be the thumbnail.
They do not. I mean, you do. I mean, you look a little more youthful.
I'm pretty sure when I walk in the house after this podcast that
Oh, it's on, huh?
I hope so.
It's go time.
I put it in and sent the Snapchat out to you guys, like just with it in, and it looked dark. I was like, "Oh crap!"
It's crazy how that works, though. The fact that it only bonds to some.
Be.
Yeah, literally.
I really was
You
hoping.
guys are
Because you always
jackasses.
see those guys in like stores with like a fresh dye job, and it's like, not for you.
I kind of thought he was using the filter, like the Snapchat beard filter.
It was dark.
I'm gonna say that it got rid completely of your skunk.
Good.
Like, I mean,
okay,
you still
the
have a
real
touch of gray, like the box says, but you do not have a skunk stripe anymore.
Does it
Looks
look
good.
natural?
Yeah. Thor, I think it looks good.
Wonderful. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you look good.
So when I bought the
looks good
box,
enough I
they
didn't
had
notice.
They
Right.
had an option of buying 1 box or 3 boxes. So I should have bought the 3 boxes. Is what you're telling
You
me.
can order the 3-pack next time.
Yes.
Now you're sold. You should spice it up with some color next time, get some ginger or something. And just a touch of ginger.
I want like bubblegum pink.
The real question is, will I burn easily if I do that?
There's a good chance of that.
You'll certainly get burned.
You will
easily.
miraculously start forming freckles, let me tell you.
I already have the white category down.
Right.
I turn red just like all you guys.
Wait. So let's go back to this. At 30K, I'm gonna shave my head. 35K, you go bubblegum.
What's it up to now?
Hank
Is it
beard?
23.3?
Just under 24.
Yeah.
We might be at 24.
Wait, I'm doing no. I've shaved my head. I ate a fish head today.
You
I
always-
jumped in the water.
Yeah, okay, but none of those were bets. You have worn a buzzed haircut since I've known you.
That's not true. Not this short.
I mean,
In the last month, I have.
okay, so semantics. The fish head, what was the wager?
I do not want to.
And the fish house.
You sound so defeated. You're like, nothing.
I know, because that's exactly what everybody in the house said to me too when I showed them the video of me eating. So I take a bite of this fish head, and it's like
I wouldn't
and
even call it a bite. I wouldn't even call it a bite.
I tore the head off of it.
Not the first try.
Well, the video you showed me, you didn't.
That's because you didn't watch the whole thing. You want to watch it again?
No, I can't.
So
Can I put the video in here?
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. So I bite down and I feel the bone of the head breaking and I gag. So I couldn't bite it off. Then I had to go back. And then when I bit it the second time, the eyeball popped in my mouth. Oh, God. The eyeball literally.
I will just
popped in
never
my
bite
mouth.
the head off of a fish. I will never have this story, and I'm completely okay with it. I'm completely okay with this. Thor, you too?
What?
You completely okay with
No, Thor-
this
Thor-
story never being
For
yours?
the right sum, Thor would bite the head off of a fish.
I mean, like, yes, I would be okay with it never being my story, but I'm not so naive to say as it won't ever be my story.
Oof. I just don't. I mean, I've gotten to some levels in my life. Like, I've gone far on a lot of things, and I just don't know I could ever get there. I just don't think I could.
Yeah, I remember not being the fun one at parties too.
Story of my life.
Story of my life.
But
I've always been a Nancy.
like, I don't think I've ever bit the head off of a fish. I mean, like, I've eaten night crawlers and
I used to
ate a
go to
bloodworm
I used
one
to go to
time.
school with a kid, and like I grew up in Western North Dakota. Do you guys know what a box elder bug is?
Yeah, kind of.
So they're like this red and black little. I don't even know how to describe them.
They
But they're
look like-
huge
yeah.
out west. They like travel like locusts out there, and they'd always be. So in Minnesota, you go back to the lake after a week of work, and you open up the cabin. There's flies everywhere, dead flies everywhere. It doesn't matter if your cabin's brand new or old. It's just flies everywhere. Out there, it's these freaking box elder bugs. And there's this kid I went to school with that would like eat them in third grade.
Just
Yeah, the teacher's like, Cole, stop. And he's like, oh, they're not that bad. It's like,
when you gotta say they're
what
not
is
that bad.
what is going on? Guy's a legend. I don't know where he's at now, but Cole, if you hear this, hit me up.
yeah, hit me up. We'll give you his digits.
I think the grossest thing I've eaten is a bloodworm.
I just don't like gross stuff.
I chewed on a leech once. I didn't swallow it. I puked.
Yeah.
It was gross. What's the weirdest thing you've eaten? We ate head cheese this weekend too. That was
Oh, you find that you busted it out?
yeah, we did. And I played a trick on Jesse and those guys. I brought it into them, and I'm like, "This is my grandma's head cheese." And
And that's strictly like stuffed brain, right?
No, it's face meat from
It's
a pig.
face
Okay,
meat. Yeah.
okay.
In gelatin.
You guys ever had blood sausage?
Yes. Ugh.
No.
All,
After the bloodworm, I don't need to
all
eat blood
that
sausage.
is, I mean, honestly, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's
like my
terrible.
grandma always has blood sausage.
Terrible.
That's not that bad. All it is like potatoes blended with cow and pig blood, I'm assuming, because that's how you make sausage. And it's just seasoned.
I don't know if they mix
All of
blood.
these sausage recipes were totally survival in the Great Depression, though.
Oh yeah.
Like all of it. Like
Yeah.
the fact that you use everything. And I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just we don't have to do that now.
Yeah, I know. We might have to resort to that one day again, but I'll wait for that day.
Yeah, I don't need to train for that.
My grandma still loves, like, I'll call her and be like, what are you doing? Just frying up some chicken gizzards. And I'm like, ugh,
You know what I need?
no
though?
thanks.
Like we're talking about food, and my wife and I were actually just talking about this. Like, I need new ways to prepare fish. You know, because like I can't do fried fish anymore. Like I do it a little bit,
Yeah.
but like Laura just made some baked fish, which was all right. It was pretty good, but like I need new ways.
I don't think it's the preparing of the fish. I think it's mixing the fish and making it a dish out of it. Like think of the things you do with beef, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you're gonna make hot beef sandwiches, or you're gonna make barbecues,
Oh,
or
one of
you're
my
gonna make
favorite things
burgers,
is
or you're gonna like
Cold sunfish sandwiches.
Yeah. Or,
You cook it up the next day, it's 10 times better.
really.
Sunfish with the skin on, you scale them and you keep the skin on, and they get really like crazy crispy and they curl up. And then like the next day, you put a little mayo, a pickle, and slabs of sunfish on it. Oh God, it's my favorite sandwich.
I've never scaled a fish in my life.
I haven't kept a bluegill in such a long time. I think we might need to go do that. It's like
bluegills
we
are
never
the only
fish.
fish I've kept in the last 3 years,
Really?
and it was like 2 months ago.
Do you ever keep any bass?
No,
Do you guys eat bass?
I used to eat a
Like
lot.
we
of bass.
catch some beasts of bass on my in-laws' lake place, and I don't know. We just always throw them back,
Cold,
and it's such mixed reviews.
cold water, maybe. I don't know. It's a lot. Those guys that eat them say you can't tell the difference between a walleye and a bass, and I'm like, you're full of shit.
So
It's like, to me, it's soggy.
Okay,
so I would
it's
say
like
that
an August northern.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would say that if you take care of the walleyes and the bass properly, it's hard to tell the difference.
Throw them in ice right away.
Yeah, bleed
Bleed 'em
them
out.
bleed them, catch them in cold water. Because even walleyes don't taste as good in the summer as they do in the winter.
Right.
They just simply put, fish taste better when they're caught in cold water.
Oh,
they're on
yeah.
ice.
So
They're on ice already.
and that's the big thing where I think walleyes, they do better through the summer and stay at that. They keep more of a firm texture, but it seems like those largemouth bass, as the summer goes on, they do get a lot softer. But when we used to have our cabin up in Ontario, we were an hour and a half of the border, and the water stayed pretty cold there year round.
Yeah.
And we'd go catch bass and we'd keep them and eat them. But
We used, you worked at Flag Island for a while. Spicy walleye,
yep,
walleye fritters, which I need to make. I have not done that for so long.
Explain that process.
So it's like chunks of walleye, breading. You put it in breading and egg mix, then dice up green peppers, jalapenos, and onions. Roll it in there and hash browns. So you roll it in there, then you fry it in little balls. It's called fish fritters. Oh, that was good.
I thought you just said you need new walleye recipes.
Yeah, but I forget about, like, those are really hard.
Right. It's not easy.
That's-
Time consuming.
That's the thing. Like, so if you're gonna have, you might as well prepare a buffet. If you're gonna have a fish night at your house, like,
Right.
it's just work. Like that. It is what it. And
That's why I
my
never keep
kids
fish.
all love fish. My wife loves fish. I love fish. But like, I don't know. We fried up some crappies the other night, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is not a meal for a weeknight. Like,
Right.
it's just not.
that's why I almost never keep fish unless I know that I can have a fish fry like within the next 24 hours.
Right. Right.
Because I don't like freezing fish.
Right.
Because if you freeze fish, more often than not, it gets forgotten about.
Right. I always freeze it in water. I don't know if that's standard or not, but I always fill a Ziploc up with water.
That's the other reason I quit freezing them. My air sealer broke. That's not what they call them. Vacuum sealer.
I just put them in a freezer bag, Ziploc freezer bag.
Yeah, that's how Grandma and Grandpa used to do it.
If
I've
you
always
fill the
liked
bag full of water.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It helps it not get so freezer burnt. But I'm under the deal that if I'm going to keep fish, I eat them within 24 hours.
Yes.
I just don't like freezing them. It's just not my thing. A lot of people like to keep a lot of fish, have them for a fish fry. If I'm going to have a fish fry, I get a lot of people, and let's go catch a lot of fish.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. When white meat fish in particular is really hard to do pretty. It's not like a salmon or a trout where it's something where you could, class it up and do like cedar plank with it and, do wine and all the other, like, and have like a big meal that you'd invite people over for. It's hard to do that without doing like a fish fry.
I have to ask you a question. So, and I don't remember you saying this, but we got on this last trip, at the gas station. We got stopped by a guy, and he said, "When you guys doing the fish addictions get together? Did you tell people on one of our podcasts that we were doing a fish addictions get together, like way in the beginning, or that you wanted to do one?" Because the guy said it was from
sale.
the podcast.
It was the sale. It's already over. Just tell that guy. Oh no, we had it.
Yeah, I know that I've talked about wanting to do like a media day.
Not for people, for the staff.
Yeah, no, I don't.
The guy told me you told him that said that on a podcast, and I was like, I don't know, man. We're still trying to figure it out.
I got a message from a guy today asking about a newsletter.
I saw that.
The only time we've ever talked about a newsletter is just like between the two of us as to what if we should do a Fish Addictions newsletter.
Yeah, he asked if he could sign up for. I mean, the guy, if you want to pay us to write some stuff down and send you an email, let us know. We'll do it.
More elegantly than that.
Yes. Well, we would obviously do it right like we do everything else. I think we do everything else.
But
right.
no, I don't think I've talked about doing a Fish Addictions get together. It would be cool to do.
You know, here's my honest opinion. We just got out of this cold streak. The lake we were fishing on today had 17 inches of ice. That's it.
Seriously?
17 inches.
Man, that's crazy.
And that much snow.
I thought we were for sure home free. Like,
no, I think
3 feet ice. I haven't been out since this
I'm
cold
really
snap.
thinking, the cold snap's gone. We're done. We're on the backside of it. It's going to warm up. We're looking
40
at
on Monday.
44 on Tuesday.
Whew, that's what I like. You'll be setting fences by Wednesday.
I'm wearing shorts to work.
Well, I mean, I just really think that it's going to be really hard to plan anything because with no snow insulating the ice, with not as much ice as normal,
if you look at the extended
really
forecast, though, like AccuWeather, I think you can look out 6 weeks, I think.
And they're saying cold again?
Yeah. I mean, not cold, but like highs of 28, lows of 3, so.
So it's going to stick around. It's not really going to build much, but it's going to stick around. Right. You just never know. I mean, what are the factors? We're not going to have any runoff. Early spring walleye season. I was laying in bed the other night as
we could get pounded in March, though.
I hope.
Seen a lot of snow in March.
It's a double-edged sword.
I don't want it, but
I was laying in bed last night as it was negative. Not last night, 2 nights ago in the ice house, and we were on a lake, and it was negative 32 below or something like that, and it sounded like somebody was shooting skeet right next to the house all night long. So I was laying there awake.
Just ice cracking?
Just boom! And then, like, you could hear it start at one end of the lake. It's like, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, my. The first thing you do is look down at the hole to make sure there's not water coming up. And, like, I'm not a novice at sleeping on the ice. I've done
a
lot of nights.
It is eerie.
But it's like you're laying there, it's like, boom, 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 boom. I'm like,
right.
You look right down. First thing you do is look at the hole that the rattle reel's in. You're like, is water coming up out? You do. I mean,
no, I don't disagree at all.
And then when it's that cold out, it's like, dang it.
Alex Perrick was ice fishing in Dallas, Texas today until local law enforcement kicked him off of the pond.
Oh boy, that guy is something else. Yeah. I think that's the first time he's fished in a year.
No.
Ice fished?
Well,
I haven't seen him ice fishing.
Probably ice fishing, yeah.
Did he catch any?
I think he was pretty promptly kicked off, though. I don't think many people in Dallas are used to you being ice fishing. Convenient that he had a live scope ready, though.
It's like, check this out.
I mean, he just...
Huh. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people in Texas have no idea, like none, zero.
Right.
But what's going on? But I mean, it's interesting. I'm surprised he hasn't come up here and fished and tried to do something up here. He's sick of the cold, probably.
During this pandemic?
Oh, God.
Does this make every show during this pandemic?
No, I just found that as an answer to get out of doing stuff you don't want to. Be like, hey,
Pandemic.
hey,
You live in North Dakota, Thor.
Hey, can you
There
take the
is
garbage out in this pandemic? Never gone. I mean, I've gone to the state fair a million times, but I've never gone to Wee Fest or Moondance.
I went to Wee Fest. I won't go back. I've never been to the state fair. I was at the state fairgrounds once as a 4-H kid, and there was like 300 boys sleeping in the same area. It was disgusting. I won't go back. And it probably wouldn't be right for me to go sleep in the same dorm as 300 young 4-H kids either.
I don't think you can be a member of 4-H, Mike, anymore.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's true.
As Thor's over here mixing a cocktail.
Just discreetly.
Not. I could hear it all. And so could they.
yeah, but here's the thing: they don't know what I'm drinking because they don't pay us.
Bacardi and Coke.
Oh, okay. We're just gonna put that
Communion.
sponsorship out for
Communion.
free. Okay.
It is Ash Wednesday. I mean, it's communion.
You know, I saw people talking about that on Twitter. Like, what are you giving up for Lent? Thought about giving up being an asshole.
Oh, Thor's not an asshole.
Thor, you can't give that up for. That's just your personality. If that's what your claim to fame is, can't give up your personality. You got to give up like chocolate, sweets.
Surprisingly, don't actually eat a lot of sweets.
Yeah.
No, this is a body by pizza
Yeah, Thor, when was the last time you actually cooked for yourself?
today.
What?
I made a steak and a salad for lunch.
What?
What'd you have yesterday?
Steak and a salad. No, yesterday I had a pork chop.
He had leftovers today.
You're cooking for yourself.
Yeah.
Because normally when I see you,
Date
I'm
on
not,
Friday. Date on Friday. He's like, I gotta get it. I gotta get it.
No,
No more Papa John's for this boy.
No, it's mostly just it's so much less expensive. Well, people say it's less expensive to cook for yourself than it is to eat out.
It is true. It is true.
I don't know
Like,
if I believe it.
If
but-
you're on like a path of
it depends if that
like-
pizza lasts you 2 or 3 meals
That's
or
true.
if it's only
That's
one.
True. But if you're on a path of like healthy eating, like that was always my crutch. I've always been, a bigger dude. I was just talking to a good buddy of mine. He's like, I've been in shape for 6 months of my life. Not consecutively, but for 6 months of my life, I have been in shape. But it is, I mean, it's the same price. You know what I mean? Is it annoying to cook and make sure you got greens and make sure you got proteins and make sure, yeah, it's super annoying because it's way easier to throw pizza on, but
It's interesting though, because like when I was in the best shape of my life, I still look back on those pictures and I'm like, damn, I was kind of fat.
right?
And
You'll get over that.
that is not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Eventually things will change and you'll be like, look at all the hair that I have.
well, yeah, but like,
I don't have bags underneath my eyes.
but it was one of those things where I was,
You get over the fact of your weight. Trust me. It's like, oh, well, whatever. I don't know.
but I was swimming 4 to 5 hours a day. I was lifting weights an hour and a half. I was doing
How are you
plyometrics for an hour.
swimming?
I used to swim competitively.
Really?
He was a swimmer in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
But like even still after, that was my job. I worked out for 6 to 8 hours a day and
Right.
I ate well and I was never skinny.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
So that's part of what holds me back from like trying
The
to get
skinniest I've ever been, I got a stomach ulcer when I was a senior. And I was just like, it just hurts to eat.
Yeah.
So, like, my senior pictures, I look like I'm malnourished. Like, my senior pictures should have what's her name? The starving dog commercials that come on at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sarah McLachlan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, if you rolled a slideshow of my senior pictures, it'd be like, yeah. Be like, geez, that guy.
Send that guy a bag of rice.
No worries. By the end of my senior year, it healed up. The ASPCA got me back on my feet, and I was adopted. It was good. It was good.
Oh, God.
My sister's still giving me crap. I was like, well, I was skinny, and my older sister, she's like, that's because you had a stomach ulcer. Like, you were sick. I was like, she's like, I remember my
skinny.
senior year, she's like, I'm worried about you. I'm like, it just hurts to eat. Like, I'm not trying to be anorexic. Like, it just freaking hurts to eat.
Yeah.
Like, but it did heal itself, and it's good to go now. I wouldn't mind one now. Like, if I could plan one for like 6 months where it would hurt to eat, it'd be miserable.
Did it hurt to do everything else?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was a senior in high school, so I mean, you're trying to live your best life, right?
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I mean, it was pretty freaking miserable.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I still take like heartburn medicine every night before I go to bed. Just since then, I never had a problem with heartburn until I got that stupid ulcer. But
like if you could pick up a tapeworm.
right,
Don't people do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's super. I think it's technically illegal to do it on purpose. Because it's so dangerous.
He's leaving us.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got?
Okay, well, let's go all the way back to AFTCO supporting college anglers. What other companies out there do stuff like that you're aware of?
You know, this youth angling in general, you got like Lund does all the like the high school stuff around here. You know, all of them do. You know, I know Carhartt's big into youth angling.
Because there's a ton of companies out there that want to help build the sport of fishing.
Here's the problem.
Travis left the door open and it's freezing cold.
Yeah,
out.
it got really cold in here really fast. Here's the issue, right? Like, youth today doesn't want it as bad. A lot of them.
I
You
think
know what
they
I mean?
do, though.
I don't. We had a guy message us today saying, I just want to work in the fishing industry. Can you help me? I know you responded back to him because I responded back to him, and I'm just like, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. I just want to be a part of the fishing industry. Can you help me? Can you lead me in the right direction? And I'm just like, to me, like, no direction.
So
Well,
I think
nothing. He
I
just
think
wants to
the
be handed
problem
something.
today with present day youth
But
is like they have dreams, which I commend people on having
Yes.
dreams, but they don't have goals.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like me or you, like, you know, we've achieved where we're at in life because we had goals, which is a dream, but like, I mean, as a responsible, providing adult, you have to have a goal for the next thing. Like, where do I want to be in 5 years?
right, because it has to be obtainable.
Where do I want to be in 10 years?
Well, here's the thing. That's right. You're exactly right. Like, I want to be an elite bass angler. And the next step for them is if they can't just be an elite bass angler, it's done. It's over with. They lose
Right.
interest. They don't do it. They don't put the work in. And that's just obviously, if you want to be an elite bass angler, there's a process to get there. And it's very well laid out if you want to fish the elites or whatever. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, but there's waiting lists to get into
but
all
if-
of the tournaments to qualify to get on.
Yeah,
the
but
days.
who is that guy you were just talking about that just won
Brian New,
whatever?
the 35-year-old construction worker that has been doing this his entire life and finally got a break.
Right?
Well, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I love college sports, all that kind of stuff. Man, maybe I just got a sour taste in my mouth, you know, between what I do for a profession with the landscaping, what we do with fish addictions. There's just no follow through anymore with young kids, and we're putting a lot of resources into that, and I would just like to see more follow through. I
wouldn't even say it's young kids.
I'm not. No, I would agree with you.
I think it's just the world we live in.
I'm not against helping young kids. We got to help them. We got to do stuff. And the thing is these young kids or college young kids, and I know we just got done talking about high school. I don't think you can sponsor an individual athlete in high school. Can you in college?
No. Well, I don't know if bass is part of the NCAA.
Well,
Like,
and
I don't know if the fishing teams have any NCAA affiliation, and that's the hard part because, you know, so like college golfers, they have to sign up as amateurs and they can't win money at tournaments that they fish. Because like there's college kids that get to play the Masters tournament at Augusta every year, but they have to sign up as amateurs, and if they win, they don't get any money because they're still college athletes.
right.
And I don't know if bass has any affiliation with that. But I want to go back to this. So, especially with getting into the fishing industry. So, 4 years ago, I was working with Fish Addictions. I was on the pro staff. I was on the pro staff for Eskimo. I got sick of sitting on that side of the table, and I wanted to find a way to make a career of being in the fishing industry. So, I went back to school. I got a marketing degree. And with that being my goal, it is hard to find a position working in the fishing industry. even knowing like this is what I went back to school for, was to work in fishing. You know, like I had an interview with Basscat, and they said, you know, what do you want to do for us? You know, Rick Pierce asked me, he's like, if I could give you your dream job right now, what would it be? And I told him that he could pay me $500,000 a year to work Monday through Wednesday, but more realistically, you know,
Typical Thor response.
but you know, more realistically, I said, I want to work for you and your company. I don't really care what it is.
Right.
I know that whatever job you can offer me right now is not what I'm going to be doing in 5 years.
Right.
I want you to give me the opportunity to show you that I can run your sales department.
And I think that that's lost as a whole in just human nature too. Like everybody just wants to be the best. And I think that that's why we've clicked so much in our short life of relationships, because there is so many guys that have no knowledge, but will tell you they know everything, especially about their hobby, right? Like fishing has become a hobby of mine, right? Probably one of the only hobbies that I have. But I'm okay with looking like a dumbass. Like I'm okay with asking those questions. I'm okay with people thinking that their 8-year-old is smarter than me on the ice or in a boat or whatever. Because like in the world, especially like this, like fishing and hunting are the ultimate worst. Go on a Facebook thread, go on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's professionals everywhere. Like, who cares? Like, who cares? And that's the thing that puts a sour taste in my mouth. And that's probably why I've always been like, yeah, I'm okay with being the dumbass. Like, I'm okay with, like, I didn't grow up fishing. My uncles took me hunting. Like, I've always deer hunted. I grew up pheasant hunting on my own. My old man would take me out every once in a while, but like, we just were surrounded by birds in western North Dakota, so it was easy. We'd bird hunt 3 times a day in the fall out there. But it's like, I think that's the problem with any outdoor recreational activity. Like, anybody can buy the gear, but everybody's a professional. Like, just ask them, why would you tie that knot? Why would you... Oh, you didn't catch that many fish, or you don't know what you're doing, or whatever. And it's like, and everybody, that forces everybody to be scared. I don't really, I'm kind of rambling right now. I don't know where we're going with this. But
one of my favorite quotes, it's an old African proverb. A lion doesn't have to tell you he's a lion.
Right.
You just know.
Yeah, for sure.
So typically the guy that's peacocking is peacocking because he wants to show off what he does know and hide what he doesn't know.
That's what I always find it fascinating that people come to me and be like, "You're so humble about what you do," and I'm like,
Right.
Is there any other way? It's like, I don't know shit. Right. Yesterday, we're fishing Tullibees for an episode. We caught 13 or 14 Tullibees. I didn't catch a one.
Right.
And it's all about attitude. I came back. I was frustrated. Calmed myself down. I caught one, and then I caught 5.
Right.
You know? I mean,
now I gotta wait until
we had a podcast 3 or 4 ago where we kind of combated this, you know, like, and I like how you said that. Like, there's so many professionals out there. There's so many people that know everything. And it's just a bullshit thing in the fishing and hunting industry. It's bad in fishing and hunting. And I'm going to blame, not going to blame anybody. I have a portion of the fishing industry that I blame the most, but I'm not going to bring it up. It's people that are just so picky, and it's not fly fishermen. Thor's over there and like, oh, he's blaming the fly fishermen again.
That wasn't gonna be my thought. Fly fishing is a very pure. There's literally no polite way for me to explain how.
Do you have to drink IPA to be a successful fly fisherman?
Yeah.
You got to be that or a super hippie.
It's such a weirdly purist idea of a sport.
Like you and I are not even considered fishermen to those guys that like take fly fishing serious. Like
even I, who fly fish, wouldn't be taken seriously by
Like-
most people in the mountains.
Because if you can't catch them on a homemade fly, you are not doing it. You know, and whatever.
Most people don't.
With this line that I done spun out of that beaver pelt.
But like when we were on the Green River in Utah, it was I wanted to learn how to fly fish, and I wasn't going to do it around here. So my buddy and I planned a trip out to Utah. So we went to one of the premier fly fishing areas in the country. And we're just kind of...
Was anybody willing to lend a hand? Show you what to do? Or were they all like, get out of here?
So actually, yes. We had a very positive experience.
Okay, cool.
Part of that is because, we're not typical tourists in the sense that we fish and we understand fishing and so on. But we talked to a guy at like 2:00 in the afternoon because this river, we were there, we timed it perfectly. The water was too high, but it was essentially like trying to fish walleyes during the spawn. And so there were people everywhere. And we talked to this guy at like 2:00 in the afternoon, and he was throwing jerkbaits on a spinning rod. And when we ended our conversation with him, he said, "Thanks for talking to me. You guys are the first people that have even acknowledged my presence on the river because I'm not fly fishing."
So can I get into something else? Being you just said jerkbait on a what?
On a spinning rod.
Okay. So I'm like novice, right? The rookie, the guy that started fishing 5 years ago. And still to this day, like, I just want to preface this for anybody that's listening. If a new fisherman asks you, "Hey, what should I use for bait? We're gonna try and go catch some fish with my kid this weekend," or whatever, right? Like, I remember 4 years ago calling you and you're like, pick up some buckshots and pick up. And if it wouldn't have said buckshot on the label at the store, I would have had no idea what the hell I was looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, we go on a couple more, fishing adventures and blah, 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 blah. And then I realized that a lipless crank, now correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
A lipless crank, a jig wrap,
Yeah.
and a rip and wrap are all three the same thing.
No, wrong.
Wrong.
So a jig and wrap is a glide bait. It's a heavy weighted front hook, back hook, underhook, and they go up and they glide back down. A ripping wrap is like a rattle bait. So it vibrates up and floats down. Vibrates up and floats down. Where jigging wrap goes up and then kind of swoops down. And you can cast both. You can vertical jig both. Both are used open water and ice fishing. But
so is a jig wrap and a rip and wrap and a lipless crank the same thing?
So there's two behind you right there. So there's the rip and shad, which would be just like a rip and wrap.
Okay.
And then you have the puppet minnow, which is what would resemble a jigging wrap. So that's pretty good right there. So this is your rattling bait, vibrates up, rattles, makes a lot of noise, disturbs the water big time. Like a lot of disturbance in the water as it's coming up, gliding back down. And the puppet minnow comes up, and then it's got that fin on the back tail. So that fin, it nosedives a little bit and then glides down and kind of does a dead bait kind of. I went up, now I'm dying. I'm up. And the ripping wrap's the same thing, but it's vibrating up to get the tension, and it's kind of fluttering, kind of
floating down, right?
And then they get attacked.
So maybe we're both about to learn something, but would you consider the ripping shad to be a lipless crankbait?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that was my impression.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know how it is. Like,
so you're not that
you
dumb.
talk to a veteran and maybe they just assume that you know more than you do, and you're like, "Well, I mean, what have you been catching them on?" And they're like, "Well, just a tungsten." And I'm like, "What the hell is a tungsten? What is that?" So I'm like Googling. Well, Google is not that good for like.
If you don't know what to ask Google, Google is not good.
Yeah, exactly. So like, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, like I said before, I'm still learning this sport and everything like that. But like I still to this day struggle. Like I call you almost every time I'm fishing. I'm like, "Hey, is it odd that I'm catching fish 7-8 feet off the bottom?" And you're like, no. I mean that's not weird at all. And I'm like, okay,
that's what I always say. Well, we're so fortunate. Like, even when I started Fish Addictions, I didn't start it to teach people things. I started it to start a community that didn't harass people for every goddamn thing they do.
Right.
You know, and then it turned into this, and in the process, and I granted, I grew up in a fishing family. I was fishing tournaments, fishing, helping my grandpa. My grandpa raised walleyes and trout and all that kind of stuff. Stocked lakes in Minnesota. Did the whole egg process. So I was fairly familiar. I was very familiar with a lot of local-ish fishing trends.
Right.
So I mean, to me, it was second nature. But I think the best part about what we do is learn. Like, I literally learned that Tullibee will not just bite anything when you're in their habitat. You know, Lake of the Woods, you throw anything down there, you will probably catch a Tullibee for the most part. Where we were at this weekend, like, we were using flasher rigs. We literally would take a spoon, like the buckshot spoon there, the flutter spoon, take the hook off, tie it, 4-inch lead, and then tie a tungsten below it. And that's how we had to catch them.
That's crazy.
It's called a flasher rig. So you put something that flashes above it, and they're keen on that flash, and they get up to it, and they're coming, and they grab and then you put just a ball of waxes on that tungsten. They grab the tungsten, and away you go. I mean, it's a total different type of fishing, and I struggled with it because I was trying to fish it like I was fishing a spoon. And once I realized that you could not stop jigging a bait, you couldn't stop moving it, then I started catching fish.
So even when they show up, you just keep
You got to
jigging.
boop, 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 all the way up. So it's like lake trout fishing. As soon as it was explained to me, like, hey, this is like lake trout fishing, you can never stop moving. Lake trout are up and down, and they'll come up and they'll stall out, and then you drop below them. And when you drop below them, they'll go shoot way down at it. And then once you start coming up, boom, they'll come back up, and you're like, oh, you're going to get it. They stall out, boom, drop it below them. You might have to do it 10, 15 times. Then finally one time, they just attack it, and it's game over. So
I'm gonna have to catch a lake trout on accident before I do that on purpose. That sounds like an obscene amount of work.
it is.
That sounds like going musky fishing.
That's why guys use bait casters for lake trout.
Yeah.
Like literally just and then hit the bail.
So when
and
you're
free float it down.
when
as
you're
fast
jigging
as
a
you can.
buckshot, you're trying to catch a walleye. Like, what's your cadence? Like, are you going up 2 feet? Are you going up 6 inches? Are you going up a foot? Like, what are you doing?
Like when
how
I'm
far
actually-
off the bottom are you? And are you going up and down 2 feet, a foot?
on a typical time jigging walleyes. I mean, it really is dependent. But if I'm using a spoon, I usually start a foot or so off the bottom,
Okay.
and then the fish determines how high I bring them.
Okay.
Because a lot of times,
But I'm not saying
a fish
like,
always
like
feeds
if
up.
there's a fish interested in it, like I get it. Like
Yeah.
keep coming up until they lose interest and then come back down,
Yeah.
right? But like when you're just sitting there trying to get the fish's attention, like what?
like you haven't seen a fish yet.
Right. Like you're not marking them.
So what I do is I work the whole water column. So I'll jig, reel up 4 feet, jig, reel up 4 feet. If I'm fishing 20 feet of water, I'll start at the bottom, work my way up probably to like 12 feet, 10, 12 feet. I'll jig there for a while. I spend most of my time down low because that's where the high probability areas are. But especially on a place like Lake of the Woods, if you're out of there's a lot of high flyer fish, we call them. And those fish that are up in the water column, they're hungry, they're up there to eat, and they're normally bigger. The bigger fish are up roaming. In 30 feet of water, it's not uncommon to see them 15 feet off the bottom just roaming.
Really?
And you'll sit up there and jig and rip a loud bait, and it's not uncommon. I mean, there's many times that I'm using that, like the ripping shad, and just ripping it, and all of a sudden, especially now with live scope, it's just like, oh, there he is, he's coming, you know. But when they're up that high, 9.5 times out of 10 they're eating.
Really?
Every time.
See, every time I try to catch a high mark on Lake of the Woods, it's a Tullibee.
It used to be that way. It used
Is
to
that the
seem
same
like
way on
that's what it
Devil's
is.
Lake too?
I've never caught a Tullibee on Devil's Lake.
So
Well, no, not
if
Tullibee,
you're
but-
if you're walleye fishing on Devil's Lake, I find most of the time that they're lower, and it depends on the depth. You know, sometimes we're fishing walleyes in 30 plus feet of water, which then they could definitely be up and down. But a lot of times I'm fishing walleyes in 10 to 20 max.
Okay.
And even down to 4 feet.
You don't have that water column to play.
Well, and they're just more bottom orientated, structure orientated. So if you're fishing structure, they're more going to be down in there eating. They're on that structure for a reason. They're in there to eat.
Right.
If you're fishing mud, they're roaming fish, so they're constantly roaming. So a lot of times, and fishing is all about theories. And the guys at Fish Addictions, we talk about this all the time. So my theory is, that means I'm not 100% sure I'm right. It's just what I think. It's just so to explain this to people.
You're getting called out.
I get called out all the time for theories.
Can't wait to read the comments.
This is my theory, that these fish roam a little higher because these bait fish are right underneath the ice. And I see this on Lake Winnipeg. I see this on Lake of the Woods. I see this on Mille Lacs. A lot of times, if you're fishing out in the
mud bowls, though.
Generally mud bowls. And it's very consistent that these fish, they'll fly high. I call them high flyers. And I think it's because they're pushing that bait fish up towards the ice
right,
to make it a little bit easier to catch. That's my thought.
Right.
Because there's a lot of times, especially those high flyer walleyes in Lake of the Woods, if they're at 15 feet, I can get them all the way to the ice. I've actually had a fish a big walleye right below the hole. And I was like, I think Jake was with me. I'm like, Jake, look at this. And he's down there, and I'm jigging, and he's there. And then I dropped it, thinking almost like lake trout type stuff, and he gone. But
so when you're fishing with a rip and wrap, you just doing a minnow head on the front hook?
Nothing
ever.
Never.
Well, never ever.
Do you ever put a minnow head on your jig wraps though?
No.
Okay, because I've been on days where
if I'm gonna have to go to a minnow head and a jig wrap, I'll go to a swim bait with a minnow. I'll switch to a swim bait, and that'll do the trick.
Because I've been on bites where it was a jig wrap with a minnow head.
I'm a very aggressive jig wrap guy, and that minnow head won't stay on for more than.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, because it was a buddy and I sitting in a permanent fish house on Lake of the Woods. He was using a jig wrap with a minnow head. I had a dead stick, and then I was using a buckshot with a minnow head.
Okay.
And I wasn't catching anything.
I've heard of guys doing
So
it.
I switched to using a jig wrap, and he was still out fishing me 9-0. So then I put a minnow head on my jig wrap.
You gotta finesse that jig wrap then. And the one thing that the minnow does to that jig wrap is and maybe that was the deal, is the minnow threw that jig wrap off a little bit, so it's doing just a little different. Maybe it was actually the minnow head. Maybe it was the cadence that made that jig wrap do.
Right.
But as it falls, it's going to change up everything that it's doing. So on something like a rip and wrap and stuff, no, I don't typically ever use bait.
Really?
Most of the time, what I'm doing if I'm got a rip and wrap is you get that fish really fired up with the rip and wrap, and if it's not going to eat that, you reel up quick, you grab something else, drop that down on top of it like a spoon with a minnow head on it, and that a lot of times will do the trick. So
buckshot's super common. Everybody's got a buckshot.
Oh, you got to have a buckshot.
Gotta have a buckshot.
Minnow head, full minnow.
Minnow head.
Okay.
And I like to leave a little more. A lot of guys like to pinch them right behind the gill. I like to leave just a little bit and then rip, so the stomach is hanging out a little bit. I
like having that air bladder.
Yeah, and it just little dangles there. It gives a little something. I don't know. It's all in my head, I'm sure.
Use your fingers. Don't use the scissors.
Right.
So, I mean.
But if the fishing is crazy good, start saving your tails.
Yeah.
See, that's
I'll use, and sometimes I'll use the tails too. And it is weird because there's been bites where the heads work and there's been bites where the tails are better. I don't have any explanation for it. That's just what they want.
You think more often than not, though, it's the heads that work? That's
Yes.
what it seems like. Or is it just because you just default to using the head?
I think you default to using the head. I mean, there's been plenty of times that the tails are working just fine. It's more about the meat and the action of the spoon, I think, at that point.
Well, and there's got to be a scent aspect to it, too.
Oh, yeah,
right?
for sure. For sure. And there's times when I've had a better bite with nothing on, like a flutter spoon or something like that.
I've never been.
So I never, ever fished spoons with no bait. And then Troy Peterson, we went out, fished Winnebago with him. And he brought out like Swedish pimples and these flutter spoons and all this stuff. And he never put bait on it. And he was catching fish. I'm like, what are you doing? And that's how I learned to fish rip and wraps. Because it's the same concept with the ripping wrap. You can never stop moving that bait.
Right.
Right, because
It's a reactionary deal. So when you're bringing it up, it's always twitch, 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 all the way up, twitching, 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 all the way up. Never move. You stop, fish gone. So like that's the key to fishing those ripping wraps and those rattle bait styles is never stopping. Never. The moment you stop, that fish is gone. Because it will rack it.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Swedish pimple. Like probably one of the oldest baits that's still out there.
Yeah.
I have never caught a fish on a Swedish pimple.
I never have either.
For every time that I've gone out and
So the guy told
guy
the
at the
story
bait
about
shop's
last
like,
week that was like going out and freeing ice houses with a 270.
Yeah.
That's it. I think he's got some red hooks and like I think he buys 25 Swedish pimples a year. And that guy murders fish. Murders them.
Yeah.
Swedish pimple, and I've never caught a freaking fish with a Swedish pimple.
But 5 years ago I would have said go buy a Swedish pimple, would you have known what I was talking about?
Skibby had to send me a picture of what a Swedish pimple is.
Because that's the one bait between that and a buckshot are like the two baits that when you say the name, like it's just everybody knows whether you fish or not.
I didn't know what it was, and like Skibby gave me a couple. He's like, here, I buy 25 a year. I just order them online.
See,
It's like, here, take these.
for me, it's getting to the point where like somebody asks you what lake you were on, you say, "Oh, I was on Lake Wish You Knew." Like that's how I feel like when I say, "Oh, what bait were you using?" People say, "Oh, I was using a Swedish pimple." I'm like, "Great joke, bro."
Yeah.
Like that. Honestly, like my experience with fishing a Swedish pimple has led to me just being like, "Okay, so he's just not going to tell me what they're biting on." Cool.
Anthony caught a couple fish this last couple days on the Swedish pimple.
I must
They
be
make
doing it
some
wrong.
ginormous Swedish pimples.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a great.
I don't
Lake
know
Winnipeg
what
bait.
the size is. Like, what size of a Swedish pimple is right for Devil's Lake or Lake of the Woods?
I don't know what sizes they are, but like the
Okay.
3-inch one
Okay.
ish right in there. But that Swedish pimple's got that little red tail on the
Yep.
bottom of it, and that's supposed to emulate like blood coming out. And they've been around forever.
They're old school.
They're older than us.
Old school. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I legitimately I think that they're from like 1923 is when they were patented.
Really?
I want you to look that up because if you're right, holy shit. The one thing you have to know about Thor is he just retains that type of shit.
He's that guy that's like, well, here's a fun fact.
The whole time I've ever
I was wrong. 1955.
That's still crazy, though.
I was still hoping you were right. I was like, oh my God, he's going to have
Because
this.
literally, who was a serious fisherman? Like, you're talking 2 years before my dad was born.
In 55? Yeah.
And who was, like, serious in fishing then?
Beta Knock Lure Company.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
But a lot of people, I mean, think about it, because Cabela's was founded in 1919.
Yeah, but back then, they weren't what they are now.
But
You
they
know what I mean?
But they started out selling flies out of a garage.
Yeah.
Wrong again.
I mean,
1961.
yo, I am not good at my guesses
See,
right
where
now.
are you at, though? You are 50 years off on every fun fact tonight.
There, okay. Orvis was 1856.
That's fly fishing.
Yeah, but this company that is still a powerhouse was
Yeah.
founded in 1856. So 100 years before he said who was a serious
Yeah, but what
fisherman.
were these stores in 1856? Were they just like a stop along the way or what?
Oh, for sure. It was handmade flies that were...
Yeah, but the Orvis company started as a dedicated fly fishing store.
I mean, I think it's like anything. Everything evolves. Like Harley Davidson started making bicycles. You know, like that was the thing. There was bicycles.
Do you still have a hog?
Oh, yeah.
You ever ride her?
Not very often. I think I drove it 3 times to the office last year, and then just hangs out in the back garage. And every 3 years, I put new tires on it. It's super cool.
There's been I believe Kawasaki sitting in my garage since I moved into the house that I live in, and I've never seen it on the road.
Is it yours?
Nope. It's my roommate's.
Let's go jump that thing.
There's a Polaris sitting there that is in a very similar situation. We go jump a Polaris.
Motorcycle?
No, this one's a snowmobile.
You have a snowmobile?
No. Chris has a
Your roommate.
Axis or something like that.
Gotcha.
Some sort of mountain sled.
Man, I think this was more a little lax. You got anything else you want to talk about?
There's a lot more fishing tonight, though.
Yeah, I mean, I was okay with the last one.
No. I agree.
I was okay with it. It just, we kind of went off on a tangent, and it went, and that's what it's all about. I just got new. I'm honestly like, maybe these guys can tell. I mean, thank you for all the compliments on the new beard. I appreciate it. I can feel it.
Click like and subscribe to Just for Men.
A touch of gray.
Or Touch of Gray, yeah.
So
But isn't the brand name Just for Men?
I think so.
Touch of Gray.
I think so. So a question that rolls around on the internet frequently is, you can only catch one species of fish for the rest of your life, but you can catch a trophy every time you go out.
Is it like that fuck it, marry it, date it?
No. Also,
Just kidding.
also not the game. But if I say the F-bomb again, then I have to do more editing. But you can only fish for one species for the rest of your life, but you can catch a trophy every time you fish for it. What are you fishing for?
You can only fish one species, but you catch a trophy every time.
Mm-hmm.
Tarpon.
Tarpon?
I don't know. I have a thing. I want to go fish. Let's go fish tarpon.
Let's go fish salmon.
If I said, Trav, we got
Neither of those are hard things to convince me to go.
we got a
fish for.
tarpon trip planned, would you say?
I don't even know what that is.
Hey, Travis, we got a tarpon fish trip planned third week of March. Are you in?
Oh, I got that bathroom.
I might actually be going tarpon fishing here in a
Where are tarpons
What?
found? Where do tarpons reside?
when I go down to Georgia to visit my parents.
Oh, in the ocean.
Oh.
They're like
more so
giant
like-
shiners. But they like fight tremendously.
So, and maybe it was because I've only gone salmon fishing once, and it was in Skakawea. And I think it was the guy that was the maintenance guy at the hospital. My mom worked with this guy's wife. And this Todd guy took me out salmon fishing, like one Friday night or whatever. And I remember him, and I must have been 8, 10, something like that. And so he had like these mesh bags, and he'd fill them with eggs.
That's a tarpon.
And then he'd put a treble hook inside of the mesh bags, and then you would catch these salmon.
Egg sacks.
Egg sacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I
put
remember
glass
fighting
Spawn
that
sacks.
fish.
Spawn.
I remember fighting that fish. I mean, it felt like an hour.
Damn trout fisherman.
Maybe it was 10 years, or maybe it was 10 minutes. But I remember fighting that fish forever. And still, I want to go back and go salmon fishing.
I would go salmon fishing.
The hardest fish I've ever struggled to land was a 24-inch brown trout.
24-incher.
This is a tarpon, by the
That's
way.
a tarpon.
Do you have any contacts in Sakakawea that could hook us up with like spring spawn salmon fishing?
I could find some.
Let's go do it.
Yeah, I know people that do fish salmon. Apparently,
It was right by the dam. It was like Scorio Bay, I think it was what it was called.
yeah, it's right by the spillway there.
Yeah, right on the north side of the dam.
Were you on the shore?
Yep, shore fishing.
Really?
I know people like to fish from in the tail race, too.
Well, that's because a lot of those fish got through somehow, so there's a lot of them below. Is what
But those aren't
from what I
like-
understand.
Yeah.
Those aren't like those are planted there, right? Like those
Yeah.
aren't like
Yeah,
it's
they're
not a
stocked.
natural like it's stocked, right?
I don't think they reproduce. They're stocked. I do not think
Okay.
they reproduce
In Sakakawea or
in
Sakakawea.
Sakakawea.
I bet they do.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they do not reproduce. They're stocked. I'm pretty sure that that's the case out there. There was a ton of people when we were there for the National Walleye Tour last year. There was a ton of people up by the dam fishing for them. Big downriggers, big boats, just cruising with downriggers. I don't even know what a good day of salmon fishing out there is. I know a few people that go out there and fish. And
I would have no
pretty good
idea
days.
what it looks like on a boat.
Yeah, no, they spawn in there.
They do.
Wait. Interesting.
I don't think they do.
Interesting. So they move in to spawn.
Yeah, they fall.
But
spawn.
since they're... Yeah, okay.
So
But-
any fish that is planted that doesn't spawn anywhere will still false spawn. And basically the conditions are not
It just
right
won't
to
reproduce,
spawn, whether
right.
they don't have the the habitat to spawn or they don't have the right water conditions to spawn, they will still hit that point and false spawn.
Okay, so they do kind of spawn though. So they come up shallow. The North Dakota Game and Fish takes them out. They harvest their eggs.
Yeah, but they don't get them all.
Right, but then they replant them back into Sakakawea. So the salmon that you're catching in Sakakawea are technically
From Sakakawea.
yeah.
Okay. Huh, that's interesting.
I got a whopper patch off of that salmon that I
You
caught.
still got it?
Somewhere.
Next, you can find that. You dig that out. North Dakota Whopper patch. I don't have one.
Call your mom. Mom still got
I'll
it.
have to.
My mom
I'm sure
still
it's
has
in
every
like
waterfall
a
stamp I've ever
cigar box of my grandpa's buried under 35 years of crap, but
That goes in the trophy bin, man.
they still give those?
Yeah. Whopper patches, man.
Yeah, I spent a summer trying to see how many I could collect.
Did you get any?
No.
What is a salmon whopper in North Dakota? Oh. That'll tell us how big that fish was.
Well, it was at least that then.
Right.
Well, that's the issue though. The numbers change
I don't
because
think
the
they do they?
well, the 24 brown trout that I caught in Utah was a master angler if I caught it 6 months earlier
Oh,
because they changed it
gotcha.
to 24 and a half, I think.
Oh, there's the Whopper patch.
There it is.
Was yours a catch and release or a catch and cook?
Catch and cook? We smoked it at Bronson's Super Value in Beulah. Shout out.
Also, I also
12
need
pounds.
Tullibee smoked Tullibee recipes from you guys, or a good place to bring them to smoke because I kept a few to smoke them.
You think Laddie's would do it or no? They're not open for open smoker.
I'm not sure. Problem is I just got home today and I'm leaving again tomorrow. So
Weird.
no, that's not. We're going to Pikapalooza down in Wisconsin. It's a pike fishing, ice fishing deal.
When's tip up fishing hot in North Dakota? March? Is that a March thing? Or is
It's
that
as
an
soon
all-year
as
thing?
as soon as the snow starts melting,
Okay.
then the snow kind of like goes through the ice, seeps through the ice. The water does, and that like triggers them, and then water flow. But we're not going to have snow melting, and we're not going to have water flow this year. So I'm going to go up next week and actually start tip up fishing Lake of the Woods. You want to go for a few days? Stay in the sleeper shack?
I can't go next week.
Got that bathroom.
No, actually, I'm going fishing. We're leaving Thursday night and taking the boys.
All right.
So I'm already bailing on, 2 days of work
One
next
day
week.
I'll get invited to that.
So now that we
You can
talked
come
about
with.
Just so you
can't
know,
catch
I
any
gave
fish.
your guy last Saturday a ice fishing rod. So
Did you?
3 weeks from now, I did. 3 weeks from now,
Yeah, he's going to be a guide. Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
So now that we started talking about the Whopper Club, the North Dakota state record freshwater drum, 26 pounds, 2 ounces, 37 inches long.
Wow.
Can you imagine? I mean, you've caught drum. These things fight like crazy.
Yeah, they do.
I feel like in order to land a 26-pound drum, you have to be very lucky because there's no way you're using the right gear.
37-inch, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that guy wasn't throwing a tow rope out.
Right. Like
Maybe he snagged it, but he didn't film it.
well, it was 1980.
Does it even tell you what the master angler is? That's just the record.
These are the records. Whopper. What are you looking for?
Yeah, we don't
Walleye?
have master anglers.
Salmon.
12 pounds.
21 inches. No, how many inches?
No inch requirement. Just wait.
For what?
12, 12 pounds, no inch requirement.
Okay.
I want to go paddle fishing.
Yeah.
Ooh, you can. This seems scummy, but you can get a walleye patch for a zander
That's
on the same scale that it takes for a.
Is a zander bigger than a walleye?
way bigger. They get way bigger.
Like
Are they the same, family?
Yeah.
Really?
They look almost exactly the same, but zander I think will get up to 40 inches,
Where are they at?
mostly in Europe.
One lake in the United States.
So why the hell would North Dakota have a zander?
Well, 1.5. So I actually know this kid. That's amazing that when you Google it, that shows up. This is the most recent one caught, or the most recent big one.
That's the United States Zander record caught right here in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Where are they at in North Dakota?
Don't worry about it.
There's an actual lake in North Dakota that has them.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about it. We'll tell you off screen.
All right.
Yeah. But so here's a.
But look how big they get.
This is like
Good.
an average zander.
God.
20 pounds.
20 pounds.
But Europe, it's a Europe thing.
Yeah, European.
Let's get some more over here.
No, I did. I looked it up, and I was like, I bet I sent this dude a friend request like 2 years ago.
Did I?
No,
Did you?
No, I haven't. This was the first one.
Okay. I'm usually like I wean some randoms out. I do. You know, like if you bump into somebody at Menards that you like worked on their house 5 years ago, and all of a sudden you get a friend request from
Let's be buds.
Jim Bob, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's usually not going to be a good thing.
no thanks.
All right. Well, unless you got something else.
No,
I think I'm good.
definitely. I think I'm good.
This is relaxed.
I know you're pretty excited about this guy.
We should have done this from a hot
We'll
tub.
talk about it another time.
We'll talk about it another time. But guys, I know this is a little more lax, but we're in between trips. We're getting ready for the next trip.
Simply put, we needed to unwind,
Yeah.
and we let you watch it happen.
You know what we should do?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It's just one of those things where it's like,
We were doing this anyway. We turned the cameras on.
Once it gets nicer, we should do a podcast in my hot tub.
done.
We'll call it the Unwind session.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
Let's do it.
So, guys, from now on, as much as Trav can make it out here, he says he's gonna make it all the time. It's gonna be the three of us. We're just having a good time. It's just fish addiction's the real talk, and unless you guys got something else, we're out.